Okay, so most people have never actually met a true believer. Now, sure, we've read stories about believers, we know that true believers exist, but we hardly ever see them. Well, Be Holy is a podcast that shines a light on the behaviors, the mindset, and the duties of a believer, so that we can recognize God's children even when they don't look like God's children. Yeah, it's a bit of a process.
Each lesson is given by our own Pastor Nard. Your sins have been forgiven. All you have to do is believe it, and God will help you through your journey. You've traveled long enough without Him.
Today on Be Holy,
we're talking about asking God for things. Yeah. We're going to ask God for many things in our lives. If you hadn't already, start asking now, because you're going to ask one way or the other before you leave this earth. You're going to ask God about something or for something. You might as well get started now. And we're going to read some verses on today where we see people asking God for things. And then God actually gives them what they ask for. It's going to be a good lesson. I'm hoping that you're able to stay around, hoping that you're able to listen, because God is actually going to show us some things that we've never seen before, things that we've never paid attention to before. He's going to do that today in this setting. Watch. All right. We're going to go over to St. John chapter 4. St. John chapter 4. And if you're familiar with that chapter, it starts off with the woman at the well. You know, she's getting water and everything else. And then Jesus comes by and says, "Hey, give me some of that water." And then Jesus, "Listen, if you drink from this fountain or from this well, you're gonna get thirsty again. But I have water that you'll never thirst again." And so the lady sat there and said, "Really? Can I have some of that water?" And so Jesus begins to explain to her that He's the Messiah, you know, the very one that they're looking for, the very one that they can't wait to see. They said that Christ is going to come and teach us all things. And then Jesus tells her, "Well, the one you're waiting for is me. The one speaking to you is He. That's me." I'm sure he wasn't rhyming. I don't know. Maybe he did. But he said, the one you're looking for is me. The very one that you're looking for is me. And a lot of times we tend to look for God in strange places. We do. We look for the government to take care of us. We look for people to do right. We look for people to treat us right. We look for people to do everything right. We look for your mom and your dad to do everything right. But the only one who's ever going to do everything right is Jesus Christ Himself, God. The only help you're ever going to get is going to come from God, regardless of if somebody signs the check or they make a deposit into your account. All of your increase, all of your help is only ever going to come from God. It's not going to come from people. People may actually be used to actually help you, but all help comes from God. So the very one that you're looking for to help you is God. A lot of times we look for mom to help us, look for dad to help us, and that's warranted, I guess, you know. But you better look to God, because He's the one who has all the answers. He's the one who has all the help. Some people say, well, I got this bill paid. I got to get this bill taken care of. I got to get this taken care of. I need this kind of money. I need that money. Yeah, we all need money. And the only one who's going to provide that money for us is God. The government's not going to do that. The government will give it to us. I mean, listen, we paid into the government, right? So we're actually hiring the government to run the country. So if they decide to give us the money back, great. If they don't, fine. But I know where all the money that I have comes from. It comes from God. It doesn't come from the government. It doesn't come from me. I didn't work for it. All of it came from Him. And so whatever I need, I go to Him to get it. And so this woman's at the well, and she realizes that she needs the living water. She's getting physical water. Yes, you need physical water, but beyond physical water, you're going to need spiritual water. And so Jesus shows up and says, "Hey, I'm the one who has that water. You're getting the water from the well, but I have a well that you can't see. I have water that will change your entire life to where you'll never thirst again." And thirsting, talking about wanting to be spiritually full, wanting to be spiritually fine, as opposed to spiritually thirsty. You know, a lot of times our frustration with the church is what we're expecting the church to do. The church is nothing more than people who are believing on God. You can't expect the church to be God. The church is not God. It just isn't. No matter, we're his children. We try to act like him. We try to talk like him. We try to repeat what he says, but we're not him yet. See, we have to be like him later. He's going to make us like him, but we're not him. There's only one God. And as the movie says, I'm sure he don't dress like us. So God has everything that we need, and we go to him to get it. I know it's hard sometimes. I need a $1,500. I need a $10. Just give me $10 till tomorrow. I know stuff like that happens. But I would ask you to really consider asking God before you ask people. A lot of times we don't get anything from the Lord because we don't ask him, and we don't know to ask him. We know everything else, but we don't know to ask him. And so she asked him for the water, and then he begins to tell her about herself. That's the one thing that people don't really like in this chapter 4 of St. John, where Jesus begins to tell her about herself. Not everybody about her. Tells her about herself. And she knows what he's saying is true. And so then she's running and telling everybody else, hey, this man told me everything that I've ever done. He told me about all the 4 or 5 marriages that I had that failed, and the one that I'm with is not my husband now, and this, that, and other. And she didn't get mad at Jesus because he told her the truth, because she was actually ready. She was actually thirsty. She was actually thirsty. Listen, you're not going to get anything from the Lord until you're actually thirsty. He can actually put the cup in front of you and you won't drink it because you're not thirsty. A lot of times we're thirsty for other things other than God, but we can change that. We can change that and start to chase after God and ask God for the things that we need on this earth, because he's already supplied the things that we need in the next world that we go to when we leave this one. He's already supplied those things. And so he's here now supplying the needs on earth. Listen, he came down all the way from heaven to save us. So I know if he came all the way down from heaven to save my soul, I know he can come and help me pay this bill, or help me start this business, or show me what I need to do in order to grow my family. He can do that. He can show you how to have a career and have a family at the same. He can show you how to do those things. But if we don't ask, we're not going to get it. And so then the next story is, it talks about the people came to Jesus just because of her, what she was saying. They were like, we don't need to hear what you're saying no more. We totally believe. Right. So then later on, this gentleman which is the main part of the story that we're wanting to go to, or the main part of the chapter that we want to go to. St. John chapter 4, and starting at verse number 43. I don't know how far we're going to get, but this is the thing. We're here now. St. John chapter 4, verse 43. And at the end of the 2 days, Jesus went on to Galilee. He himself said, a prophet is not honored in his own town. Yet the Galileans welcomed him, for they had been in Jerusalem at the Passover celebration and had seen everything that he did. They saw everything that he did, and they were happy about it. So usually that's true. You know, if you don't get no respect in your own home most times. Like when I say your own home, I'm talking about your own family, your brothers and sisters. They say that you came to Jesus. Yeah, but I don't believe you. You know, you still look like Herman to me. You still like John to me, you know. So you don't get a lot of respect in your own home. But on this particular instance, the Galileans welcomed him. They were glad to see him because they had been there at the Passover celebration and had seen the things that he did there. He was always doing something. Do you know of anybody who's always doing something? Well, Jesus was always doing something. Verse 46. As he traveled through Galilee, he came to Cana, where he had turned the water into wine. He did that. See, he was doing something else. They remember that. There was a government official nearby Capernaum, whose son was very sick. And 47. And when he heard that Jesus was coming from Judea to Galilee, he went and begged Jesus. Begged him to heal his son. Come to Capernaum and heal my son, who is about to die. Begging him. How many of you ever felt like you were begging God for something? You know, if you're honest, it's not a good feeling to feel like you're begging anyone for anything, but especially when you feel like you're begging God. And 9 times out of 10, you're not begging him. You're asking as he told you to ask, but maybe you're not used to asking people for help. And so now we have to go to God for help. And it just doesn't feel good. But don't worry. It's okay to ask. Ask and it shall be given. Talking about the Holy Ghost. But it's a principle to everything else. Ask. And even if you're asking for the wrong thing, he'll show you what the right thing is and give you the right thing. He talks about he knows how to give good gifts. God knows how to give good gifts. Just like fathers know how to give good gifts to their children, God knows how to give good gifts to his children. You're not going to ask for food and he give you a serpent or a snake or something that's going to hurt you. No, if you're asking God for something, ask him. So Jesus asked, will you never believe in me unless I, do these miraculous signs and wonders? And the officials said, listen, Lord, just please come now before my little boy dies. Man, that had to been hard to ask, because you're in that land of complex. Your son he's on his way to death, and Jesus still hadn't given you a yes or no answer yet. And then Jesus turns around and says this: go on back home. Your son will live. And the man believed what Jesus said and started home. Believed in what he said and started home. And then he ran into his servants or the people who work with him and asked him, because they told him, hey, your son's okay now. He said, so when did all this start happening? When did his fever go away? It was about 1 o'clock. Well, he realized that was the time he was talking to Jesus, asking Jesus to heal his son, that he might not die. I ask you now to ask God to heal you and heal your family, that you don't die, that your family don't die, and that you have a great life, and that God actually takes you into his kingdom where you belong.
Well, how did you feel about today's lesson? Speak with us at beholy116@gmail.com. Share Be Holy with a friend, a colleague, or someone who needs it.
Connect with us today at beholy116@gmail.com. Your support of Be Holy is greatly appreciated. Simply text the word GIFT to 614-363-6133. And if you're ever in Columbus, Ohio, give us a visit. Come visit us.
Brought to you by the First Church of Christ Apostolic Way, a small church with a big heart.